not subscribed to our channel, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button as shown above. Hello friends, welcome to Kamath Astrology. In today's video, we will talk about a very important transit. That is, the Sun is going to transit in the sign of Sagittarius or Dhanu starting 16 December 2022, and is going to remain in that sign for 1 month. But the interesting part is Mars or Mangal is currently retrograde or Vakri in the sign of Taurus, and therefore Mars's 8th aspect is going to fall on the Sun. That is, retrograde Mars is putting his 8th aspect on the Sun. Now this is a very important transit because Mars is the ruler of the sign of Scorpio, which is the natural 8th house in the zodiac belt, which represents transformations, secrets, hidden things, fluctuations, ups and downs, occult signs. And Mars is also now putting his 8th aspect on the Sun present in the sign of Sagittarius. So in this video, we will study the impact of this aspect on the world in general. So this is the chart for the Sun transit on 16th December 2022 at 10:11 am IST, that is Indian Standard Time. And you can see the planet Sun shown by the letters SU and in a red circle inside the sign of Dhanu or Sagittarius. You can also see Mars represented by the letters MA in the sign of Taurus or Vrushabh, putting his 8th aspect on Sun, Venus and Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius. Now let us first understand the nature of sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the natural 9th house of the zodiac belt. It is ruled by the planet Jupiter or Guru, and therefore it represents dharma, it represents religion, it represents spirituality. It also represents our gurus, teachers, father-like figures. But on the negative side, Sagittarius also represents war. But it represents the war for righteousness. It represents the war for dharma. It represents the war for justice. Being the natural 9th house of the zodiac belt, it also represents spiritual places, it represents foreign lands, and it represents higher learning and divine wisdom. Now, what does the Sun represent? The Sun represents king, Sun represents authority, Sun represents power, name and fame, Sun represents the government. Now, let us understand what Mars represents. Mars represents courage, anger, rash decisions. Mars represents quick action. Mars represents aggression, dominance. Mars represents the blood flowing in our body. Mars also represents our passion and our drive. Now, Mars has been given an 8th aspect to bring about a transformation wherever it puts its 8th aspect. Because the 8th house is all about transformations, ups and downs, hidden things and secrets. So now when Mars puts the 8th aspect on the Sun in the sign of Sagittarius, it means Mars is influencing the government, the king, the person in authority, so as to bring about a certain transformation, certain ups and downs, certain fluctuations. And what this means is, in this period, the people in power, the government as well as the king, will have to undergo a lot of challenges, a lot of struggles. Sagittarius, as I explained earlier, is also the sign of war. And therefore, in this period, because of Mars's 8th aspect on the Sun, the governments may take certain hasty decisions which might further aggravate the war situations across the world. So, it shows an increase in disputes related to religion, disputes based on one's religion across the globe and in different parts of the world in this time period. Now, if you see, both Mars and Sun are fiery planets. While Sun represents pride, name, fame, authority, self-respect, Mars represents aggression, dominance and anger. And when Mars puts 8th aspect on the Sun, these qualities of Mars will now influence the Sun. Now, as you can see, the Sun is also with Venus, the Sun is also with Mercury. Venus is all about relationships. So, whichever house Sagittarius rules in your chart, that house is going to be impacted. For example, for the Aries Ascendant or the Mesh Lagna, Sagittarius represents the 9th house, which represents gurus, which represents teachers, which represents father-like figures, and Sun also represents the boss and people holding positions of power, people with higher authority. Now, because Mars also rules your 8th house, that is the 8th house for the Aries Ascendant, it is going to bring about some transformation in your relationship with your guru, with your boss, with father-like figures, or even in the health of your father, because Sun also represents our father. So, for the Aries Ascendant, the message is to be calm, not to take rash decisions, hasty decisions, which you may regret later. Also, take care of your father's health, because that may slightly get impacted in this time. Do not enter into unnecessary conflicts with your bosses or with your gurus, teachers, or people in authority. Now, Sun is also your 5th lord placed in the 9th house, which is very good. But he is receiving an aspect of Mars, and therefore it might bring some transformation in your educational journey. For example, if you are trying to go abroad, this is a good time to take that decision to go abroad and study something. But because Mars is putting his 8th aspect on the Sun, you might take some hasty decision without proper investigation. So that is one thing you need to be very aware of and take informed decisions. Now, for the Taurus Ascendant, the Sun is the ruler of your 4th house and he has gone in the 8th house and is now aspected by Mars, who rules your 12th house and 7th house of marriage and relationship. So on the home front, you are going to see some transformation. Maybe you will shift homes, you will shift places, or you could also look at doing some kind of renovation within your own house. But on the home front, this Martian aspect on the Sun is going to bring about some change. Also, while driving, you have to be very careful because Sun is your 4th lord placed in the 8th house and aspected by Mars 8th aspect. So there is a chance of accident. Both these planets represent fire. So you have to be very careful when dealing with fire, electrical equipment such as geysers, heaters, boilers, etc. On the relationship front also, this Mars is going to bring about some transformation. When you are talking to your spouse, do not talk in a very commanding manner. Since Mars is now putting the 8th aspect on the Sun, it can make you very rash in your behavior with your spouse. So be consciously aware of your own behavior because it can destroy relationships if you are not careful. Now Mars is also your 12th lord placed in the 1st house. So there is a strong chance of your health also getting impacted. Mars is also a fiery planet. Sun is also a fiery planet. Sun is in your 8th house. Mars is in your first house. Mars aspects the Sun with the 8th aspect. So on the health front, Taurus ascendant needs to be very careful. Now for the Gemini ascendant or the Mithun Lagna, the Sun is the third lord of short distance travel, of communication, and he is placed in your 7th house of marriage and partnerships. And Mars puts the 8th aspect on the Sun in the 7th house. So definitely it shows some impact on partnerships, some transformation in partnerships, some ups and downs in business, as well as relationships with your spouse. So mainly you have to be careful with respect to relationship with spouse, business partners, and even siblings, because Sun is the third lord. Now because Mars is your 11th lord and Sun is in the 8th house, you could also gain something through inheritance or insurance in this time period. Now for the Cancer ascendant or Karka Lagna, Sun rules the 2nd house and is placed in the 6th house. The Sun is aspected by the 10th lord Mars as well as by the 5th lord Mars. So one thing is, this shows certain disputes in the family over money matters, financial matters, or loans that you have taken. The health of a family member may bother you in this time period because Sun is also the Karka for health and has gone in the 6th house to be aspected by Mars. So on the health front, a family member's health may bother you in this time period. Now because Mars is aspecting your Sun and Sun is the ruler of your speech, it can bring a certain amount of fire in your speech, certain amount of anger in your speech, and that is one area you need to be very careful in this time. You might face certain challenges, certain conflicts due to your own speech towards your family members. Now for the Leo ascendant or the Sinha Lagna, the ascendant lord Sun has gone into the 5th house of Sagittarius. So this is a very good time to study something new, to focus on your children, and also a time where you may gain a lot of name and fame. But Mars's aspect, that is Mars's 8th aspect on the Sun, can make you very proud of your own knowledge, and that can bring about a downfall. Remember that you have gone to the Guru's house. Sagittarius is the house of higher learning, and this is the house where you need to learn to be humble, not to be proud. So for the Leo ascendant, this is a good transit if you are able to control your ego. Now for the Virgo ascendant or Kanya Lagna, this transit shows certain expenses over home affairs, over vehicles, as well as on your mother. For Virgo ascendants, mainly you might have to deal with expenses related to your house, property, vehicle, or mother's health. Otherwise, this transit is good for you. Now for the Libra ascendant or the Tula Lagna, Sun rules the 11th house of gains, wishes, aspirations and desires, and has moved into the 3rd house of siblings, short distance travels. So you might feel like traveling to some places. Also, you need to be careful in relationship with neighbors and siblings in this time period, because Sun is aspected by Mars and that can spoil the relationship with father, neighbors as well as siblings. If you have a younger sibling, he needs to be careful while driving. Mars is putting the 8th aspect on the Sun and therefore for the sibling this is not a good time. He could meet with an accident or face some challenge related to fire incidents. Now let us move to the Scorpio ascendant or the Vrishik Lagna. For the Scorpio ascendant or Vrishik Lagna, Sun rules the 10th house of your career and has gone into the second house of Sagittarius. It is now aspected by your 6th lord Mars. And therefore, while this transit does bring you wealth, it also brings you conflicts within the family. Health of the father is one area you need to be very careful about in this time period. Let us move to the Sagittarius ascendant or the Dhanu Lagna. Now for the Sagittarius ascendant or Dhanu Lagna, this is a very good transit because your 9th lord has come in the first house. So luck will favor you. You might also go on some long distance travel to some distant place or a foreign land in this time period. Now Mars is also your 5th lord and 12th lord. So it clearly shows this travel may be along with your children in this time period. But Mars is still putting his 8th aspect on the Sun, and therefore you need to be careful in this time period with respect to relationships mainly. Be careful while dealing with fire equipments, electrical equipments in this time period because Mars puts the 8th aspect on the ascendant, and therefore there is some danger from fire seen in this time period. But definitely this will give you some kind of trip to a distant place with your children. It could also be a trip to a distant place for some educational purpose. Now let us move to the Capricorn ascendant or the Makar Lagna. Sun is your 8th lord. He has gone in the 12th house of Sagittarius. And this forms a Viparit Rajyog. It definitely shows that matters related to inheritance or insurance money that was stuck will now get resolved in this time period, and you will gain through insurance or you will gain in inheritance related matters. However, a 12th house sun may make you spend money on matters related to government or even on spiritual matters such as donations to temples, etc. Now let us move to the Aquarius ascendant or Kumbh Lagna. For Kumbh Lagna, Sun is ruling the 7th house of relationship, has gone in the 11th house of gains. So definitely through your partner you will gain something in this time period. However, on the work front, you will face certain challenges from your boss or from people in positions of power. However, you will be able to overcome those challenges, and this is a good transit for the Aquarius ascendant or Kumbh Lagna. Now for the Pisces ascendant or Meen Lagna, Sun is the 6th lord and is placed in the 10th house. You already have Jupiter supporting you in the ascendant, and this transit will give you a lot of name, fame as well as recognition in your work environment, in your profession, in your business. So Mars is going to bring about certain transformations in your work area, in your workplace, which will be beneficial to you provided you are not rude to your seniors or your bosses and you have your ego in check. So this is a good transit for the Pisces ascendant or Meen Lagna also. So friends, if you like this video, please mark it as liked on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to our channel, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button. For any queries, please write to us at astrosevaworld@yahoo.com and we'll be glad to assist you. To know more about us, you can visit our website astroseva.tripod.com. So friends, thanks a lot. Bye. Take care and stay safe.